Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Zambo, and I'm the academic coordinator for the Kripalu School of Integrative Yoga Therapy. I have been in this role for about 2.5 years now. Before that, I was a mentor in this program. And before that, I took this program from 2013 to 2016 and used what I learned in this program to teach in healthcare settings, integrative healthcare settings, in a psychotherapy practice that also had a yoga studio space, and in my own like private practice with clients or small groups. So I'm really excited to share what I learned in this program and how this program has evolved and grown since 2013. We'll begin this info session with a centering, a grounded centering. We do a lot of centerings at Kripalu before meetings or when we gather as a group before a session. This has a way of establishing our awareness in this moment and our focus on the purpose of our meeting together and our intention of meeting together, even if this is async, if you're watching this recording asynchronously. So you could take a moment to have your eyes open and looking at something, maybe out a window or on the ground. You can have your eyes closed, and you can find a position that feels supported to you, typically where your feet are on the ground or on something solid, where you can move a bit side to side and feel your sit bones press evenly into your support. And become aware of the physical sensation of touch, of your body making contact with what's underneath you. And then allow your breath to soften in your body. As your body softens into the support you're on and around, notice your breath gently fill up and expand, and then also be released completely, letting all the air, as much air as possible, go. And the seemingly simple act of sitting and breathing. We'll be with that for a moment. And in this moment of stillness, you might think of your intention for being here, for listening to this, any questions you might have. And what your intention is listening to this info session. A moment acknowledging that, as well as other people, if you're here attending live in the Zoom room, receiving information from others. And when you're ready, you can start to blink your eyes open if they're closed, or refocus your eyes back in this room, in this moment. And we'll go ahead and get started. I have a PowerPoint that I'll share. You'll also be receiving this as a PDF form, and follow-up links as well with information that that I'll note as we go through. Okay. Well, this is our former director, Mary Northey, on the right, showing an assist to one of our faculty members, Jamie Boswell. I'm first going to talk about what makes yoga therapy different from a regular yoga training or a regular yoga class. So yoga therapy is really curated healing for the whole person. Um, Yoga therapy takes the tools of yoga, the practices of yoga. There's in-depth knowledge and understanding about what the practices of yoga do, what effect they have on the human being, and also an understanding, a foundational understanding of common health conditions, common mental health conditions, uh, different populations, and of really an acute learning and awareness of what it's like to be a human being in different bodies and in different places and with different experiences. And yoga therapy has a series of assessments and intakes that we do with people, whether it's small groups or whether it's individuals, to heighten that awareness of the human being and what has occurred along the path of life to bring different things out of balance, and then where we can utilize yoga tools correctly to help bring rebalance to the human being. Yoga is a very powerful practice, and like any powerful tool, it could, if it's used incorrectly, that can cause harm. And when it's used very mindfully and with awareness of our balances and imbalances, awareness of who we are and what we've gone through as people, we can then use the tools of yoga to enhance our well-being, to feel more connected to people around us and more connected to ourselves, like way more um, compassionate towards ourselves, and accepting of ourselves. Um, so that's, a little nutshell. It's also very individualized. Uh, as I mentioned, there's intakes and assessments that we do with students kind of one-on-one. And we also do that in a small group setting. If there's maybe 8 people in a small yoga therapy group class, we'll still do an intake with each individual person, even if we're teaching in a community, which has its own a lot of benefits, teaching in community with other people. We assess things like someone's goals or their limitations. I have worked with a lot of different people in my time, and I've never done the same thing with a person who's experienced low back pain. It can be totally different depending on what you like to do, what your daily activity is, what your support system and what your support structure is like. Uh, and so this individualized approach is something that we focus on in every single module of our training. Here's a slide. We're also accredited through the International Association of Yoga Therapists. This is one slide of information from iayt.org, and you can find a lot more information about yoga therapy at iayt.org. And just like a glimpse of what some of the differences are between a 200-hour yoga teacher and a yoga therapist. So within the 800 hours of our training, there's foundational information on psychology, biomedicine. We have MDs and professors who teach in our program who are very well versed in biomechanics and in biology, and are also yoga therapists. So they teach our students from this lens of what do you need to know as a yoga therapist when working with people that have different conditions, and how can you communicate with other practitioners and doctors in a healthcare setting in a way where you're connecting with them in their language, in a way that they can understand and collaborate with you. So we also learn a lot of adaptation of yoga tools to individual needs, which is also something that a yoga teacher, perhaps more with like a 500-hour or more, will learn about adaptation of yoga tools. In-depth anatomy and pathophysiology. So the causes of illness and separation is something that we review both from like a Western scientific lens, and then also from the Eastern yogic lens of what leads to separation and dis-ease. So you get a look at what that looks like in the ancient texts. We include a lot of yoga psychology in the ancient texts, as well as like what does that also look like from a Western point of view. We also have a very extensive clinical practicum. One of our modules is on campus at Kripalu, where we bring in members from the community for our yoga therapists in training to teach to, with the support of mentors in the room and the support of faculty in the room. And that's about 25 hours of the clinical practicum. And it also involves like you teaching in your community and working one-on-one with a mentor, about 150 hours or so. And that's kind of throughout the program. As you're learning and building skills, you get to apply those skills not only with students that you're learning with, but also with members in your community. There's a lot of things you can do as a yoga therapist. This is just one shorter list of things that our faculty does, our graduates do, what I do and have done in the past. So working in healthcare settings, learning how to collaborate with practitioners, mental health clinics. Our director, Pamela Stokes Eggleston, works with veterans and active duty, and we have a lot of graduates who are building yoga therapy programs with the VA. We have a couple members on our faculty who have worked in trauma and addiction centers. And these are also people that don't have another professional license. They're not also a psychotherapist or also a physical therapist. They're a yoga therapist, and not just a yoga therapist. There's a lot to that, but you don't have to have another professional degree or training to teach in these places. Schools and university settings. We have a couple of our graduates who are involved in research studies. One of our faculty, actually two of our faculty right now, are actively involved in a research study on how yoga therapy can benefit a certain population. And we talk a lot about that in our program and why that's important and why that, how that leads to more accessibility in the yoga space that desperately needs more accessibility in it from a range of different areas, a more financially accessible, location accessible. So research studies can really help build the support for bringing yoga to different populations. Homeless shelters, senior centers, community settings. I have done a lot of continuing education for yoga teachers, either in a 200-hour program or a continuing education, like an advanced course, which is something that a lot of other graduates and yoga therapists do. Having that title, they can go into trainings and lead trainings with this background of a little bit more knowledge and credibility. So that's another great opportunity for a yoga therapist. This is a list of our team and our faculty. My name is the first there, Renee Zambo. Pamela Stokes Eggleston is our director and also faculty. Ling Lo is the Dean of Administration and Strategy for the schools. And there's a list of faculty too that you can also read their bios more on our website, kripalu.org. Our curriculum is very diverse. As I mentioned earlier, yoga philosophy, biomedical and psychological foundations, research, professional practice. So like, how are you going to do this and make money from it? Like that's in every single module that we teach, is like, how does this actually translate into helping people, into reaching more people? Therapeutic skills and tools. So we're a very hands-on program, a very experiential program. I am a kinesthetic learner primarily, so going through this program was so helpful for me and for so many different people. Like we're learning by doing. So for example, if on a certain day there's kind of the foundational biomechanics of the respiratory system, there'll be an experiential practice earlier in that day that goes through breath assessments, different breathing techniques, with or without movement, and on tools that you'll learn in your body, that you'll feel in your body, and then also learn, okay, like why would this certain technique be indicated for someone who has asthma, or this other one, why perhaps that one wouldn't be indicated. So there's a lot of embodied learning and discussion in guiding students, working in groups and dyads and being guided. The admission requirements are listed here as well as on our website. So at least 200 hour, 1 year personal practice, 1 year yoga teaching experience. We have 2 different pathways in our school. So we have a 300-hour of advanced teacher therapeutic yoga, and we also have the whole thing, the 800-hour accredited yoga therapy program. There are 9 modules total, and the first 3 are also the 300-hour. So it's not in addition to, if you wanted to continue. So whether you're going for your 300-hour or your 800-hour, you can always pause after Foundations Part 1, 2, and In-Depth Anatomy and receive your 300-hour, or you can continue on with our other modules for the 800-hour. So in Foundations of Yoga Therapy Part 1, you'll come out of this having a 6-week yoga therapy group series that you'll be able to bring into your community and your population. Foundations of Yoga Therapy Part 2 is individual sessions. So there's a lot of foundational knowledge on therapeutic relationship, how to hold space for a group in part one, how to hold space for an individual in part two, and then also how to do that online and in person, because this is a changing world. And that's a thing now. Online is very much a thing, online offerings. So learning scope of practice for that. Learning the methodology of how to go from an intake with somebody, and then all the way towards the end, the completion of either a series or individual sessions, and then how to determine like how many individual sessions, what to do in between individual sessions, all of those like little details. In-depth anatomy of asana is obviously a little bit more anatomy, a little bit more one-on-one, and assessments like walking assessments, standing, movement assessments, how to give a very light hands-on assessments and muscle testing for various different parts of the body. Our faculty that teach in this one is Marlisa Sullivan, who wrote the book Understanding Yoga Therapy. She is also a PT and has presented a lot of different conferences. Very knowledgeable, going through the body from the physical layer, but then also kind of like what that means for a person's like joy in life. So I've seen so many people with physical ailments, and it usually affects something that they really enjoy doing in their life, something that kind of brings them this bliss, and or connects them to a community. And so it's always a lot more than just the anatomical function or dysfunction of what's going on. It's how to help this person like go back to doing something that they love, or rejoin the community that they're a part of, and safe ways to do that, using the tools of yoga for diverse bodies, as well, is something that we focus on a lot in the in-depth anatomy of asana. So as I mentioned, that's the first part, and you can stop there at the 300 hour. You could continue on for the 800 hour. And that includes the clinical immersion, where you're working one-on-one with people, the supportive faculty and mentors in the room. The mentored practicum, where you'll teach in your community, and also have the support of a sangha, meeting with other students who are in the mentored practicum and your mentor. Pranayama, mudra, and subtle anatomy course, which is very, very, very experiential. Uniting yoga and Ayurveda is done in conjunction with the Ayurveda school here at Kripalu, as well as the Kripalu School of Yoga. Yoga therapy applied in medical settings and in mental health. Those two modules are where we bring in a few more guest presenters who are our specialties in their field. Typically, they're also have a doctorate or a PhD to come in and to teach in those modules. This is a list. You can kind of pause and take a look if you'd like. You'll also get this as a PDF of just a glimpse of our 2024 trainings and offerings and the dates, as well as 2025. So you'll see Foundations 1 and Foundations 2 are offered online in the winter, spring, and then as well as on campus in the summer. And you don't have to do both back to back. You could, for example, do Foundations 1 in person this summer in 2024 and do Foundations 2 online next year in March and April. You can really take your time with the training. You have 3 years to complete. We do offer extension applications if you need a little bit more time. In-depth anatomy of asana and clinical immersion are the two that are offered consistently on campus because of that hands-on approach to them. And we will be having more training scheduled and put on our website soon for 2026. Again, you could take a moment to pause and look at the on-campus daily schedule. So what's really nice about being on campus is that you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean. We house you, you don't have to go anywhere other than the program room and being on campus. So it's very immersive. 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then dinner and evenings off to relax. And a nice lunch break too, to just kind of relax and take a break. This is a view from our front lawn at Kripalu. If you haven't been before, it's very beautiful. The online schedule has different perks to it as well. So there's more spaciousness in the online schedule. The weekends are mandatory to be live and synchronous. The Monday and Wednesday sessions have an async option. You don't have to be there live for those. You do have to watch the recording. What's also nice about the online schedule is that you get recordings because it's on Zoom and we have that capability. So you can rewatch recordings for up to a month afterwards. You're still back in your home or wherever you might be, where life is going on around you, but there is more space to digest material. And it also it offers accessibility for so many people who might not be able to come on campus. And the online trainings are still very interactive. It is not like a master class situation where you watch a recording and type something up and maybe meet with a person. It's very interactive. You're in breakout rooms working with people. You're in conversation with faculty and with other students. You're collaborating. So it's still very interactive training. Earlier, I mentioned different parts of our curriculum, and also with online, there might be more course readings or written reflections or integration assessments. So there'll be just a little bit more, about like 2 hours a week more of that reading and reflection. These are the prices at this current time. Of course, everything, even the dates everything's all subject to change after the world shut down with COVID. It's a little disclaimer we've been saying anything could happen. And we do try to keep our dates as very, very close to them as we can. But of course, with the world we live in now, everything is kind of subject to change. So these are the prices for tuition. And it does not include housing, but I will be sending a follow-up link with our housing accommodations. And students get a discounted housing accommodation. So this is tuition for the 300 hour. You're stopping at in-depth anatomy. This is me and doing half circle pose, and my email, my phone number, also the email and phone number of our admissions, our applications team, and our registrations team. I'll stop the share there. And if you're listening asynchronously, you can email me or reach out to me if you have any questions. You can also call me as well. But I'll pause in this moment to take some questions from those who are here. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.